Hi, this is Surfer of Life, and I'm your host, Tomi. Today, here with me is a multi-talented person who is doing so much that I can't even follow anymore. Athletics, gymnastics, street workout, vlogging, blogging, lifestyle coach, nutrition advices, personal trainer, mental coach, physical coach, and at the moment you're developing a bodyweight application called Next Level. And you're also a sponsored athlete and a hell of a good violin player. Aaro Helander, welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here.
You're only 25. How?
26 actually.
Oh!
Yeah, I'm
what
turning,
a mistake at
I'm
the
turning
beginning.
27 this November.
Oh, what a mistake at the beginning. All right, but still 26 and you have so many things going on. How is it possible that in the 26-year-old age you do all this stuff?
Well, that's a good question, but I respond that it's actually an illusion that there are not actually so many different things that I do. The biggest thing is that there's only like a huge contrast between some of them, like playing violin and excelling in physical stuff. So people kind of assume that, okay, there's something like extraordinary about having such a wide spectrum of interests. Because more often people are good at something and then they focus their activities in close proximity to that one thing. But I was always kind of the type of being interested, not actually wanting to go like too deep in any single subjects or being like really super good at something, but rather having a wide array of things which I like to excel in. Like in contrast, my both parents are pianists. They teach the piano. My brother is a professional cellist. And they, of course, have also different kind of talents, but they have this like really tight niche where they're actually working their life at. And for me, it's like always like I'm just interested in a lot of stuff, so I really can't like rule out anything. But that kind of leads to the thing that when you try to be good at too many things at once, you kind of feel that you suck at everything. Like there's so much depth in all of those single areas that it would be interesting to, and I'm maybe soon in a situation where I simply have to narrow down a bit what I do to actually progress forward from this point on.
What about at the moment? Do you have a really good scheduling system or you just go with the flow?
No, I just go with the flow. But now, like in 2016-17, I've been really like learning to use the calendar like normal human being, like scheduling everything and so on. But by nature, I'm very like intuitive. For example, when it comes to physical training, I've never followed any training regimen. I just like search information, do workout based on that information, switch things up, do things that interest me, and kind of I've developed this kind of intuition to most of the time to do things properly in most senses. And it works kind of fine. It keeps your life very like, so I don't feel stressed about anything since I feel like I have control over most of the stuff I do and schedule my own things pretty freely and so on. But yeah, I'm very intuitive by nature.
When I was checking you out and following you and saw that you're doing all this stuff, I was thinking that you need to have a very good discipline of what you're doing. Am I wrong or right?
Well, that's also a complicated question. In a sense, we could say that, of course, I have to be somewhat disciplined to do what I do. But discipline is an interesting topic because, like, if you're physically fit, people usually assume that you must be very disciplined because physical fitness and being lean and that kind of stuff is always kind of associated with hardcore discipline. But I think it all depends because for me, being physically high performing has always kind of been part of my identity, that this is who I am. So it actually means that it doesn't require any anything that I would describe as too much like hard work for me to stay at the level I am or even progress forward. So it's kind of a part of who I am. So it comes by nature. But in the contrast, learning something that I don't have any interest for, like Swedish, when I was in school, like that stuff, math and so on, then I kind of don't simply have the discipline to go too far with it. And other people who think that they are super lazy, but might be excelling like at math, might be very good at doing things with their hands, but because those skills are maybe thought as more common than being physically fit or playing an instrument, people assume that, okay, there's nothing special about me because I'm just good at math and just good at fixing things with my hands. But I think those are like skills requiring discipline also as much as being physically fit or playing an instrument. So it's kind of how you define discipline, because I think there's something you can do with very much discipline, like even procrastination could be said that if you're a good procrastinator, that requires some type of discipline. And if you're like a 15-year-old young criminal, that also requires some kind of entrepreneurial drive to actually be able to go out of your comfort zone to rob that old lady and rob the like the store. And it's kind of, I have some kind of respect for those kind of dudes. They could, if with real like coaching, a bit of straighting them out, they would make really good entrepreneurs and high achieving people. They're just directing the kind of creative energy to a bit of a wrong direction.
Physically, you are very fit. I've seen that in many occasions already. And it seems like you're also mentally in a good condition. And you started the...
No, actually, I'm losing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I came here to like vent my rage to you and get some therapy.
You started as a young age. You were doing athletics and gymnastics, and I guess you were also playing violin. Yeah. So you were already physically in good condition, but then something happened. It hasn't always been like that.
When I was young, I started playing the violin at the age of, I think, 8. Like almost, I was forced to do it. Naturally, like every kid, like my parents were playing the piano, of course, and my brother started playing cello, and then they asked, "So, Aaro, what do you want to play? Do you want to play violin?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess violin is good." and of course, when any kid realizes that it's the hell of a job to even get the basics right, they kind of lose it, and it was horrible. But I was pretty good at it. Like on the level I was playing, I was very lazy and kind of course didn't want to practice. And then I wasn't like doing like any conscious sports on a conscious level to achieve something before probably age of 12 when I started the gymnastic hobby. And even then it was pretty low level in the city of Kouvola. And we just kind of tried out different stuff, and there were some good guys with us there, and I was kind of mediocre, not the worst, but not definitely the best. And it kind of stayed that way that I never like trained anything with too much of a focus or discipline. And when I started sprinting, I usually came up to the training with my jeans on, and I was told that if you come with the jeans on and one more time, we're gonna kick you out. And I was kind of I could say I was naturally talented with physical stuff. I was pretty flexible and agile since I was a kid, but no work ethics at all, and just doing what seemed cool, or I thought would seem cool. And there's a huge difference.
I believe that at some point you stopped doing sports.
Yeah, actually, right? When I went to my military service, and the reason why I stopped there, I would have because anytime you switch locations, switch your circumstances, there's a very good chance to pick up on new hobbies or start doing something like gym properly. But we were actually prohibited going to gym for first month or two. I was at the Rapid Deployment Force in Säkylä, and it was part of we're gonna destroy your soul coaching system that they actually prohibited us. That we have free time, and we asked if we go to gym. No, you can't go. You just need to suck it up. Don't go to gym. And kind of what usually happens in military is that those with high physical abilities, they kind of regress, and those who never did anything, they improve, and then these two groups kind of end up somewhat at the same level. So you become good at walking with heavy weights and so on, maybe running and so on. But I think I weighed like 74 kilos at that time, with a lot more less muscle mass and than now, of course, and a lot higher fat percentage. And now I weighed like 93 kilos, so almost a 20 kilo difference between now and then. And I kind of lost every skill I had, and then I kind of regressed to it that, okay, it's no point trying to continue with the gymnastic stuff. I've already lost so much, and I stopped playing the violin. I thought that, okay, it's the train has gone. It's no point for me ever to touch this instrument again. And then after military service, I was actually in the worst shape of my life. I moved to Helsinki. And even walking the stairs up to my apartment, I was like totally destroyed, like six floors, and I was like, death. And but then I noticed I was dating this girl at this time, and I remember telling her that I also wasn't too aware that I actually wanted to leave her at that point, because I wasn't too aware of myself anyhow. But I told her that, I've come to the conclusion that if I don't work out regularly, I'm not happy with who I am. That I feel that something is missing. I'm missing out my potential. And then I realized that, okay, if that's the case, I simply need to work out, be a physical person in order to feel that I am who I really want to be. And then I started just like this, working out again, eating healthy. I dropped a lot of weight in a short period of time, and then I just started. It was year 2011. I started working out, eating healthy right from the spot, and then I just continued it until this day, 6 years later.
You find your own way just thinking about it. What do you think about people? There are a lot of people who are thinking that they can't do anything anymore. They're too old, or they are too fat, or too lazy, that it's too late. You can't start. What is your message to these people?
Well, the first message is that everybody feels that way with if they've dropped some hobby or something like that. And it's very easy to think that I've gone so deep that there's no way I can dig my way up here. But we of course know that every progressing in everything is very incremental. And if you think that, okay, if I work out 1 week, I'm gonna be just 1% better than week before, and it doesn't sound like much, but when you add up like 100 weeks, you're gonna be 100% better than. And when talking about human lifespan, that's not a huge amount of time. So it's kind of important to realize that everybody is in some ways on the same level. Everybody started from the bottom at some point.
Do you think that people are trying to take too big steps there, thinking 1 year ahead, that I need to be in this shape, or I need to eat healthier, or whatever, that it has to happen, but maybe they have a too long timeline?
Yeah,
do you think it's that way?
Yeah, it's that way, and it's usually, especially with guys, it's about the ego, because if it's very like natural for guys to not want to do something at least properly if they don't know they're gonna excel it right away. Like if we went dancing, we would both be a bit out of our comfort zone, because that's not maybe the most natural thing for both of us to do. But still, you gotta, like with everything, you gotta throw out your ego out of the window and realize that it's not that there are certain limits to your personal evolution which you simply cannot sidestep or get over. Like there's a specific route for everyone. Like when I think my journey with the physical stuff, the progress is, of course, by any means, it is slow. We're talking about slow stuff, especially when you're going into the advanced level of fitness. You're not gonna gain too much muscle mass in a year. Your results, they're just stagnating. And when you think about one simple move, or simple, but on the surface level, simple move, handstand. So we think about it really, like I've been doing this stuff for, like, let's say I started training handstand 1 year ago. And now I can hold a 10-second free handstand. Okay, is that so cool? I've spent 1 year trying to stay on my 2 hands, and everybody's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And I spent 1 year doing this shit. Like, what's the point? So I think that you gotta have to, like, not just forget about the effort required to do something, because it's gonna be huge anyhow. And let's think about humans in general. We go to elementary school for like nine years, and we don't learn shit. like most people who have gone half of their life to some school, they're still not like utilizing it to any degree. But still, that's what we have to do, and no one thinks that it's a huge investment. 9 years. If a kid was told that you're gonna do this shit for 9 years and you're still going to suck, how's that? Is a good deal. No one would go to school. They're like, I'm not ever gonna go to school. It's not gonna help my life. So it's all about perspective. And the moments when people, like, I understand very well people who don't have any affinity for like physical training, and they just don't understand going to gym. I think it's supernatural not to understand why I should be lifting weights when it doesn't feel like anything. It feels like weird. But the point when you actually start to get that innervation, you kind of feel that, okay, my body is working. I can feel kind of connection with my body. That's when actually the journey becomes the end result in itself. Not just okay, I want to be fit, I want to run a triathlon or something like that. But the journey itself becomes your like destination. And that's required, so you just gotta forget about how long is this gonna take, because everything is going to take a lot of time, and just accept that.
You're coaching groups and individuals, and when it's really the beginning of a journey, you think mental coaching is more important than the physical part at the beginning. What's your opinion?
Well, it depends kind of on the person, and I think that every progression goes like mental and physical. They go like hand in hand. That sometimes you can trigger the mental adaptations through physical training, and it might be the easiest. Like we talked about the Wim Hof method, like putting someone in the ice. Like if you take a regular Joe out of the street, tell him just quiet your mind, don't think about anything, meditate. He's not going to be able to do it. It's just the gap is too wide. But if you put him in an ice tub, his physical reaction really leaves him no choice but to completely space out. So through physical elements, we can actually put someone in a meditative state very fast with very strong force, and kind of a type that leaves immediate traces to your psychology. So in some cases, you might have to, let's say I start coaching someone. He or she might have like any motivation is good. Internal, external is totally good in the beginning. We just do things for 1 week. Then he or she kind of starts thinking, what's the point in this? And then we can switch maybe to a mental side, talk about what he or she wants, what are the like aspirations and so on. And then after that, she might be ready to go to the physical part once again. And it's like a dialogue between mental and physical. Because like probably yourself, I don't actually anymore divide myself too much as a physical and mental separate, but they're so like intertwined that you just need to find the right route, that which triggers and buttons to press at the right time.
Every individual is different, right?
Yeah, everyone is different.
You do a lot of stuff, and I'm interested, what does these 3 letters mean? GST.
It stands for Gymnastic Strength Training. It's a term coined by former US national gymnastic coach, Christopher Sommer, who founded this Gymnastic Bodies company, which is, I think I found their website like in 2009, 8 or 9. And since I had been like interested in gymnastic strength training and gymnastics in general, I kind of figured out, okay, this seems cool. So GST has only the strength and mobility elements taken out of gymnastics, and all the skill stuff left like behind, because that's like too much for if you haven't done gymnastics since you were a kid, you can't teach an adult to become a real competitive gymnast. So it's kind of a modern bodyweight fitness regimen. Just take the best stuff that gymnasts do to get to the shape that they are in and make it a bit more simple for mainstream to adopt. And that's the idea.
Still a lot of people doing it nowadays.
Yeah, it's been like, let's say the last 5 years, it's been growing like thanks to gymnastic bodies and other people who have like followed them. It's been growing like hugely in the world, like US, Russia, so on, Australia. And of course, after GST, there was this like a bit similar movement, but roots somewhere else called street workout, which is actually began like all the mainstream images that strong guys training in jail, like what can I do here? Okay, I can use this this bar to do pull-ups and so on. So street workout was getting huge, like these ex-Soviet Union countries. For example, in Russia, I hear that there's a situation where the gymnastics is still pretty like it's like a classic art there, like classical music, ballet, gymnastics. And if you're not accepted to the like high level gymnastics coaching, you're just thrown out. There's no place for you. There's no like just recreational gymnastics. So what do these guys do? They were good, but they're not good enough. They go to the street. They start like creating their own stuff, and that's where street workout came in, and that's why it's huge in kind of these kind of countries. A GST in Finland, Finland always comes a bit behind, like with everything. But now we have like in Helsinki 2 movement centers. We have like huge influencers like Jukka Rajala, Jarno Härkönen, Oona Kivelä, and Nadim Turbi in Helsinki, and promoting street workout and GST and kind of breaking down these barriers between like different forms of training. So it's not uncommon to see when I teach classes, like handstand class, there's some CrossFit people, yoga people, dancers, just regular elderly office workers, like in their 40s, 50s, are interested in like doing this stuff because it's so universal and it's one of the most like comprehensive ways of getting your mobility and your strength going up.
I like this. So people from different variation of sports, they all come together as a group and as a tribe.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. I've seen videos from Russia.
Yeah.
I have some crazy ones in YouTube. If somebody's following those things in street workout, they've seen them also.
Yeah.
And occasionally they're really, really dangerous and they hurt themselves bad. Is there a danger involved, or are they just making it too early?
Well, there is danger involved, of course, and that's why I don't actually advocate street workout as a kind of philosophy to approach physical training, because first of all, it was created by guys who were already good, like guys who are in the genetic upper range of physical abilities. And of course, when people look at YouTube, they see this Russian muscle mutant doing this like ring muscle ups, Iron Cross, Maltese, and they're like, okay, I can do that. And because these guys who do it, they were always so good that they actually don't remember the path they have gone through themselves. So they try to tell people, okay, just try it, man. Just keep going. It will come. And then we start doing two difficult moves for total beginners who really shouldn't be doing them at all in like the next 5-10 years. And that's when you get injured. Like when CrossFit gained popularity, there was the same thing. Like in the US, the adults' Achilles tendon ruptures like increased tenfold in like 1 year when CrossFit was gaining huge popularity. And that's kind of what it takes to make something popular, because gymnastics was never and is never going to be mainstream because it requires very disciplined approach. You cannot like skip progressions. You have to increase your mobility at the same time you increase strength, or you're gonna get in problems sooner or later, usually sooner. So you kind of have to like dumb it down for the masses. So street workout kind of does that. CrossFit does that. Okay, just let's get high action. Just do what you can. just vomit, suffer, and that's what people think of. Yeah, that's what I want to do. When someone who has only sat on their couch for like last 5 years drinking beer, then they think like, yeah, I could do that. I'm gonna rip those barbells off the ground, and then
they're losing the technique.
Yeah, it kind of feeds the ego. Like people want to get results fast, and these sports kind of offer it like fast. And in contrast, GST has like, we start from like very, very floor level difficulty, like kind of stuff, like strengthening your core muscles, just getting the basic mobility, the basic ability to move more like a child again. And then on that mobility, we start building strength and more harder elements. And it takes more time in the beginning, and it's more boring because you have to do these things that no one wants to do. You know, as a physiotherapist, it's horrible to do this kind of rehab style stuff, but that's what most people would actually need. And you kind of have to find the sweet spot of making things interesting. Like, let's do some big compound strength moves for my clients, and meanwhile keep your mobility up, keep doing these rehab fixing or imbalances, which is gonna take the most amount of effort.
2015, you won the Finnish championships in the street workout.
Yeah.
Do you like competitions? Do you like to compete?
No. Actually, I hate competing. That's why that was the only time I've been like competing. Yes.
How did it happen then? How did you get into that competition?
Well, it was I actually met the same summer, like in June. I met Nadim, who was this founder of the Finnish street workouts. Aaro, I don't know what's that in. Anyhow, this like party advocating street workout and fitness and so on. And I met Nadim at a expo or something like that, and Nadim said to me, "Hey, you should come to compete. Like, it's the first competitions." And then I thought that, okay, I'm pretty good, so I probably could try it. And then I just kind of changed my training a bit to suit what they would probably want to see in the competition, and the level wasn't so high then as it is now, of course, because when something gains popularity, then we're going to see a lot of like competitive people coming all around Finland now to compete. But then I was good enough, and it was nice. I don't enjoy like actively competing, and that's the way I be like my whole life, which has some good sides and some bad things to it. But yeah, I just went there and happened to win this time.
Are you nervous before competition? You said you don't like it. You nervous, or you just don't like the whole situation that you have to win somebody?
Well, in a sense, of course, there's a little bit of stress, like before any competition, like even if you are objectively looking very chill and so on. And it's more about like, I was kind of competing or performing when I was playing violin and younger, so I had a lot of experience from going out of my comfort zone. And it mostly comes down to preparation, of course. If you feel like you're prepared as well as you can, then it's the nervousness is more going to be like excitement. You don't fear like rejection if you fail something and people are gonna look like, oh, he's so bad. Like, look at this guy, he sucks. So if you're just well prepared, then it's not gonna be. It's a good type of nervousness. But of course, it takes like a space in your mental equity, like for some time, and when you might be interested in doing some other stuff, but you just have to like focus on the competition. So that's kind of why I wouldn't want to compete anymore, because at this point, I don't have the time anymore even to train at that level, which it would require to like have a good placement at this point.
Have you developed some kind of methods for your preparation when you were competing as a violin player?
Well, nowadays I actually use the Wim Hof method to some degree. That I found it's easiest way to gain control over your like focus and mind, to just do the breathing exercise for a couple of rounds and you feel immediately more powerful. But more like the routine is more like a lifelong kind of attitude of living, because when we think about, for example, self-confidence, you can for a short time you can fake being confident. But what I found that it actually takes something like 1 year of active faking till you make it kind of attitude to get some new elements like integrated into your like emotional self. Like when I was a kid, I was very super introverted, super shy, and so on. I was just completely destroyed. I couldn't understand anything about women. If some girl came to talk to me, I was like, "Why are you talking to me? Like, I just want to play these computer games. Like, what is this thing?" And then I kind of later learned to be an extrovert and like active like self-development. I found it took me like 1 year to really be confident in like any situation.
What was the game changer in that?
Well, it was actually when I moved to Helsinki, started working in a warehouse, and then I had just some stuff going, like any young people, romantic stuff, failures, other failures, and so on going in my life. And I was just, okay, like if there's a way to develop, I think this thought came to my mind that, okay, I can develop myself physically, I can also develop myself mentally. And then I just started listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, lectures about very wide spectrum of subjects. And then I kind of realized that, okay, it is very possible with constant like thinking every day, or like visualizing yourself as the kind of person you want to be. So I started doing that, and it was easy when I was just working at the warehouse 7 hours a day. I was listening, taking new information, new experiences into me from outside. And then at some point you realize that when I think back now, I just don't recognize myself as the same person on so many levels, because I don't even like, you kind of lose the feeling of how it felt to be insecure about something. You kind of it's so out of your reality to be insecure that you don't even kind of understand how I could have thought like that before or felt like that before. And when you have that as your like basis, as who you are as a person, then when the competition comes, it's like very easy. You just are who you are. And like self-confidence is like more like, it's not a thing in itself, it's just lack of insecurity. Like if you don't feel insecure, then you are confident by definition. So it's kind of a neutral state.
Is this the way then nowadays that you stay focused when you're doing these movements or handstand or maybe a competition in the future? I don't know. Is it because of this you develop it for some years already, this self-confidence?
Yeah. And I think what it's done, it's actually like remove the barriers. And we've thought that people set too high goals, and they kind of have the ego, which is preventing them to start doing something which they are not good at the point. Like it's very hard to start going to gym if you fear that people are gonna laugh at you. But when you kind of have that base core confidence, you kind of realize that it doesn't matter if I suck at this point, because I have time. It's all about time. Time is like the currency here. That's enough time applied, then I'm gonna be at least better than average at something.
As a coach, are these things that you're teaching to your students?
Yeah, somewhat. And it of course depends a lot of the student. That with some students you can actually talk if they're like interested in this kind of on this level, approaching things at this level. You can talk with them like this, that discuss these things. How do you feel? And so on. But it's more like subtle, like it's in the background, like a bit nudge from here, seeing how their emotional responses are to various things, and then just trying to be as supportive as possible and not trying to intervene with their like progress. Like the first thing I learned, that of course when you get some cool idea, you're young, you get a breakthrough idea, you just want to like share with everybody and tell everybody, this is how things are, you should do this. And you simply can't tell anyone to change themselves or that they should change themselves. You can only like help them get so interested in like changing themselves or improving themselves that they start like their own journey, and then you can kind of help them navigate through it. But it takes time.
This is a very important point, in my opinion, also. Now, because it's step by step, they're developing their mental strength. Do they realize it themselves? Because it comes slowly. Or can you say that you see from your students that they have developed themselves? But do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would say that in most cases they actually don't notice it, except like after like a certain period of time, like 1 year, when they're actively thinking like, okay, let's look back, and if you ask them questions, what would you have done in this situation 1 year ago? Then you're like, okay, yeah, I would have done very different things. I would have been afraid, but now for some reason I'm not afraid. And you kind of see whenever people progress, if you watch them, like have the opportunity to watch them closely enough. Like I've had this one client for like over a year now, and you kind of see their mentality changing, the energy about them. They kind of develop this maybe a calmness and kind of being unattached to any outcomes. That's like the most prevalent things you can see about someone else. Is this dude stressing about, is he going to get anywhere, or is he just enjoying the journey? And you know that when someone is enjoying the journey, you know he or she is going to succeed. It's just a matter of time.
You're doing it pretty much through physical coaching, physical training. You see that it's affecting them as their personal life and work-wise also. Much. Yeah,
and the most like the biggest contrast is when you have a, for example, client who has never done anything physical, and they might not have any like intrinsic motivation to do it, but they just wanna, let's say they want to get a rounder ass or lose some fat. And then when you work out with them a couple of weeks, a month, and then they, like this one young woman, we had like 2 weeks break at one point. Then she came to train with me, and she just was walking differently. She had this like light energy to her. She felt like more powerful. And then I asked that, do you notice that you seem more powerful, like as a person? And then she said, yeah, I feel like I have just this like elegance to everything I do. Like in when I work, I'm not slouching anymore. I don't want to like conserve energy. I just want to do things like as perfectly as I can, and so on. And that's when she kind of really got interested in it, because noticing that you can affect your whole posture, your whole mental expression through physical training. It's so intertwined. When you change your physiology, your mind is going to follow, and the other way around. So that's the point when she kind of got motivated that this is something I'm going to do the rest of my life.
This must be a good motivation engine for you also to coach people when you see that they really change their life.
Yeah. That's very, very motivating. And here again, the contrast when we think about it, I might have a client who is a lot more educated than I am, has a lot more life experience than I am. I have a totally different life altogether, and still there can be, I can give something to this person who is by some degree a lot more sophisticated in many areas than I am. So there's kind of like people from very different like backgrounds can affect others' lives like in a huge manner, and that's kind of where it gets interesting.
Now let's jump in a little bit different subject. I guess it's still the same subject, but let's talk about a little bit playing a violin.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel that as an instrument? How is it affecting you nowadays, playing violin?
Well, let's start by the story of how I actually got again playing the violin. So I stopped it totally, stopped going to classes naturally when I went to the military, and then there was like a four-year gap that I didn't even touch the instrument. And I remember this old like colleague of mine, actually a teacher, called me and asked me to come to play to a simple gig, and I replied that okay, I don't want to come because I can't play the violin anymore. Like I haven't played for 4 years and I suck. I couldn't stand myself if I would now start playing and wouldn't do it well enough. And then I declined the gig, and then at some point, it was 2012, I just got some motivation. Okay, let's try to play the violin. I noticed that I was playing too good. It was too good to have such a like long break and being able to play at that level. And I thought that this is interesting, that this shouldn't be happening. Like when I was young and there was like summer holiday, after the summer holiday, picking up the violin, it took like 2 weeks. It was total misery. It just felt bad. My hands were hurting, back were hurting. I couldn't play at all. And now it took like 5 minutes and I was back at the level that I was like 4 years ago. And then I occasionally kind of played it. It's kind of stayed in my mind. Okay, this is something I want to take back into my life properly at some point. And then years went. I played occasionally. We had this one bigger gig. And then like actually when I started playing it, or when I managed to take it like routinely into my life, was this spring, like in January. I hadn't played again for like 6 months. And then I picked up the violin and I noticed I'm playing better than I played 6 months ago when I was practicing this song for 2 hours a day. I was like, what the hell is going on? This shouldn't be happening. And that led me like to the conclusion that the way my thinking had changed like the whole subject of playing the violin. I didn't see it as a frightening or miserable activity, but like, okay, this is just violin and I've been taking my physical appearance and abilities to this level. This is no different. And kind of the violin is a highly technical instrument. It's the hardest instruments in the world. And I just felt like I really have, by focusing, it takes like 5-10 minutes to get everything back I had like when I was training years ago. And then I just realized, okay, I'm like wasting my time if I'm not like doing this thing. And then I started playing like sometimes 3 hours every night, every week, and occasionally I take a week of break, and then I notice, okay, I play again better. It feels different. I can get the connection immediately. There's like the gap that when you don't play, you lose it. It has like disappeared completely. I can just pick up the violin anytime and continue from where I left off, and I'm progressing every time I do it. And playing the songs I like, which are a lot harder than a person on my level should be able to play. And I've been playing, like, my brother is a professional cellist. I sent him a recording of me playing, and everybody's like, what the hell, dude? Like, you shouldn't be able to do that at this point without receiving proper instruction from a Sibelius Academy or a real high-grade teacher. And I realized that there's no like qualitative difference. If there's a super hard song to play, it's just a matter of time and practice. That there are no limits. It's only about focus, practice, and so on. So that's where it kind of came so motivating for me to keep the playing up. That's because earlier I would have thought that it's just simply impossible to learn something. I'm not that good. It's impossible. And now I know that you can teach basically anyone to do anything. That's what being a human means. You can just excel at anything you put your focus on. And the Wim Hof seminar, which I went to, that kind of fortified this feeling, because I hate cold showers. I used to be kind of person that if I'm told to take a cold shower, my first thought is, why would anyone do that? It doesn't feel nice. I don't need it. I don't want it. And then there I noticed that's okay. It doesn't feel like anything. I'm just totally in control, and it's all about the focus. So I realized that you can apply this same focus to anything you do, and if you do, you're gonna be very good at, like, not depending on where you're starting at. It's all about focus.
This is a perfect example of you when you're telling me these things, that when you develop yourself mentally, you can do so many more things. And like you said, you hadn't been practicing playing violin for a long time, and it just hits you.
Yeah.
Because you have been developing yourself mentally.
Yeah. And even like the emotional expression, which was never and still isn't like my strongest parts. But because classical violin is usually taught like you have to be very super cool, super calm. Your face has to stay still all the time. It's like super controlled. And it has its points, but it sets certain limits to your personality. And now I feel like that I'm more confident. So I actually have the permission to be more aggressive, be more like alive with the instrument. And that happened like instantly. I didn't have to like train for it with the violin. It just transferred from my other experiences to here.
Self-confidence allows you to be yourself.
Yeah.
Also when playing.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny that the confidence also affects your technical abilities. Like your fingers move faster when you simply don't, stress about failing. And that's one element. You just keep going, and then you realize that, okay, my body is just doing what I feel like tell it to do. And it's highly motivating.
I believe that you're combining your playing violin and physical activities now. Are you doing it together?
Yeah. And that's also a very interesting thing, because like when we think about recovery nowadays, almost no one thinks that total rest, like doing nothing, is the best thing. It's not the best thing usually. And sometimes for the brain, it's enough to just switch things up. So when you want to recover from physical training, you might just, for example, if I'm doing 8 weeks of hard strength training, then instead of taking total rest, I just switch things. I do lighter training, I do yoga, I do mobility stuff, and that's enough for my body to recover while still developing these attributes. And what I noticed that I play a lot better if I do physical training before it, like even heavy deadlifts. You might think that you're using out your grip, and this is what classical musicians, why they don't work out, because they think that if they lift weights, they're gonna lose their ability to express the finer emotions, the finer control with their fingers. And I realized that, okay, I do heavy deadlifts, like 200 kilos, and then I start playing, and it's like I don't have to warm up at all. It's like totally different game. And then when I get fed up with the violin, okay, I've been going through this one passage for like 10 times. I take a break, do some handstands, get some other activity with my wrists, and then I go back. I feel like my hands feel so light. It's like I've been like resting for one day, and it's the contrast is like huge. And then you can kind of effectively combine different kind of stuff. For example, like in gymnastics, you have to be very patient. You have to have long rest periods when you're training handstand, so you get your like nervous system loaded up to every set. So then you don't have to just like lie around. I can do the playing while I'm recovering from the physical stuff, and then I can do the physical stuff when I'm recovering from the playing, and my brain is working on the playing at the same time. And when I go to play, my brain is working on the handstand, and both kind of help each other. And the interesting thing is we know that like motor abilities and maximum strength are very like linked attributes. For example, if someone who doesn't know how to handstand, if he's doing deadlifts and we tell him, okay, now just go against the wall to a short handstand, their motor systems in their brains are activating, and then they're gonna momentarily be able to apply more maximum force to the deadlift. And so I think that when I play violin, my brains are working all the time. So it kind of gives me a more room to play with when I'm doing the handstand. I can feel different things happening. So that's the hypothesis that I have, that combining kind of these kind of things is not only possible, but beneficial in most cases. And that's what I've been actually, one of my personal aspirations this year is to launch a personal training scheme for musicians. Like one area that no one has thought that this is even possible, to effectively train and be a musician at the same time. And if I go and tell them that this actually makes you a better musician, and the confidence stuff, it immediately affects everything you do. You can perform better, you can like train smarter, get results faster. So that's kind of one thing I feel like if I have something to give to the like audience at this time, it's this kind of experience.
That sounds really good, because as a physiotherapist, I see a lot of instrument players that they have a lot of difficulties, a lot of problems in their body, and this would for sure help them out.
Yeah. And especially combining the GST, where the focus is on in improving the efficiencies, getting your body balanced, and then applying a meaningful strength training to the same combination. So that would be like huge thing. Playing instrument, train GST, getting your mobility up, and getting your mind under control.
I have to catch you up later some another occasion to talk more about this, because this is really, really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, can you explain me your theory of creative energy?
Well, creative energy, it's something that I don't think anyone is taught anything about in like elementary school. And that's a shame, because I think Grant Cardone, who's a very inspiring author, put it nicely that depending on who you are, you have a like fixed amount of creative energy, and you are going to channel that to something destructive or something constructive. And that is going to happen. There is no like middle ground. You are going to use it to something. If you're a highly creative person and you're kind of being, due to events or mishaps, regressing, you might be channeling your creative energy to procrastination. Procrastination can be a creative process. It's magnificent. And with proper guiding and taking control of your mind, you can actually transfer that creative energy to something we would really think about. This is creative. And when we talk about the youngster criminals, they're using their creative energy to do bad stuff. And that same creative energy could be enhanced to help other people to make a difference in the world. And also like sexual energy. No one was taught that sexual energy is not just about wanting to fuck everything that moves. It's very intertwined with like playing an instrument. There's something similar to it. And if you're channeling your sexual energy to watching porn, doing like meaningless stuff, you are not going to be able to perform in these other areas requiring that same drive. So kind of what I noticed, that's when I am, for example, in the process of playing the violin, that's like the only thing I have in my mind, and I can channel all of my energy to it, and it's the same energy I'm applying to my physical training. It's the same energy I'm applying to when I'm coaching someone, we're talking like this. It's the same like creative energy. And if I didn't use it that way, I'm gonna be regressing. Like when I said to my girlfriend back in the time, I'm not feeling happy when I'm not working out, because that creative energy is not going anywhere. I'm like wasting my potential. And I don't think that anyone can be happy until they start like realizing this energy. And energy is a bit of a funny term because it sounds like a bit of woo-woo, but it's a good way to like everybody knows immediately what we're implying when we talk about energy. It can be like the feeling I get of some person, and it's very good term to describe this kind of stuff.
Would this be something also in the future that you're gonna bring these ideas to people?
Yeah.
You're gonna teach them how to move their energy from different spots to another.
Yeah. It could be very interesting, and I have some friends who are already like doing a bit of that. Mikko Kempe has started this like dating advice business in Finland. No one has done that before. That's one example. And now I'm working with Tomi in Lean in 5 Weeks challenge and doing a lot of cool stuff with him. And there's a lot of people like bringing different aspects. Like Tomi is a lot on the mental side, business side, getting a shit together side with physical training. But there are a lot of niches that could be like, for example, the music and personal training, and this kind of emotional kind of training that no one is actually doing at very high level at this point.
26 years of age. Now I remember it.
Yeah.
Not like at the beginning. And you are already in pretty deep in the mental part, and your ideology is, in my opinion, it's quite deep already. When I think about myself, as when I was 26, I was like going around and couldn't think about stuff like this.
Yeah. So
you are already in a progressive state, in pretty far. How you see yourself in 10 years from now?
It's very hard to tell. Hopefully more epic, and and even the fact that I'm a guy, like I know that I'm gonna improve by age, by all standards, but I don't know. I'm probably going to be streamlining the things I do and probably ending up in more like coaching business, and who knows, whatever it's going to be. Like even now I'm having like new interesting stuff coming at me every week, and the last year meeting like right people at the right time for no reason whatsoever, so things just like falling in right places and getting these cool experiences. And I'm still feeling like when I look at myself, like now when I look at last year, I think like I was a clown. I was a fucking clown back then. And before that, I looked back to the previous years and thought like, okay, I was pretty retarded like 1 year ago. and if that progress continues, like next year, I'm gonna listen to this interview. I'm like, what a retard that guy is, and hopefully I'm glad I'm not that guy anymore. So it's a pretty good sign that I'm progressing every year.
And there's no reason to think about now what happens in 10 years, because like
no
yourself,
reason.
you're living in the moment, you're living step by step, and
Yeah.
it's just taking you somewhere.
Yeah, like 2 years
Seems to
ago,
be a right path.
2 years ago, I couldn't have maybe guessed that where am I now and what my focus is. And so I'm not even trying to, just living on the moment, and preparation and not being too much of an asshole. Those two things are which kind of enables this thing we call luck, that right things happen at the right time.
We can for sure all learn from that. So many people are thinking about, oh, then after 20 years I'm going to retire and then I will enjoy my life and things like this. But this is something like you've been telling me here, telling the listeners that step by step we are developing ourselves to be a better person.
Yeah.
And we're going to for sure find our way in our lives if we just focus in the small minor details.
Yeah.
But it needs a start.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a blast.
Yeah, it's great.
I still have one more question for you, and
Okay.
I think we already got it here, but I still gotta ask it. What makes you happy?
That's a good question.
Tricky one.
Tricky one. It's a tricky one, because there have been many years when my like happiness has been more about knowing that I'm progressing. It's not kind of let's maybe like fulfillment would be a maybe better term. What makes me happy and fulfilled is just that I have a day like tonight. I feel that I didn't waste my potential today. That's what makes me happy. And tomorrow, if I waste my potential, I feel like I'm not being who I'm meant to be. So we talk about very small scales. And of course, if you think about it daily, you can extrapolate it to weekly, monthly. If I next year think that I didn't do everything I was supposed to do, then I'm likely not to feel too happy about it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was
Aaro,
great to have
thanks for
have me here.
coming.
Thanks.
Until next time.
Cool. Until next time.
Thank you.